Back in the community, Salim Mehajer, a free man.
Salim, what are your plans now that you're released?
Hello, welcome to Media Watch. I'm Linton Besser, and we begin tonight with a fresh start for Sydney's favourite peacock, Salim Mehajer, because after almost 5 years in the big house, the con artist and DV offender was welcomed back into polite society with very proper fanfare, such as a circling helicopter.
The chopper's up at the moment, Crystal. We've seen a few cars come and go.
A meet and greet from all his favourite friends, and a frisson of anticipation.
We know that Salim Mehajer loves to make a headline. He loves it when people are talking about him. Before,
finally, his re-emergence to freedom, not in tracky dacks, but a suit, a ponytail and a pair of $890 Louis Vuitton sunglasses to match the sleek black saloon which whisked him away from all those pesky and rather athletic photographers. But not so easily rebuffed, the media was hot on his tail to the one place we would all flock to on our first day of freedom, Westfield Shopping Town.
Are you sorry for what you've done?
What are you planning today? What are you planning?
Will you re-offend?
A cunning question. Before a quick visit to the dentist.
Salim, are we just going to go get our teeth done?
Friday's feeding frenzy was sparked by this splash in the Sunday Telegraph.
For most, it would be a walk of shame. But for Salim Mehajer, his exit from jail will be laced with gross bravado.
I'm back in business,
he's told prison sources.
And the media gorged itself on Mehajer's healthy catalogue of scandal, from his preposterous 2015 wedding to his preposterous political ambitions.
So you want her to stand next to you at the podium?
Yeah, why not? Just probably step back though, like 2 metres. I would like to start off by being state, federal, and I would love to make my way up to the very top spot.
So, is Salim Mehajer deserving of the pomp? In 2023, the one-time alderman was found guilty of domestic abuse, punching his former girlfriend 10 times after an argument about necklaces, pinning her to a bed, squeezing her hand so hard it cracked her phone screen, and threatening to murder her family. All of which followed a 2017 conviction for hiding political donations and a 2018 conviction for electoral fraud. Oh, and another one 5 years later for plain old regular fraud. To its credit, Channel 9's 6pm news team remembered Mehajer was not just a bauble, but a brute, and obtained a statement from his victim.
She said, "It is so unfair, so grossly unfair, that the freedoms of the offender are put above the freedoms of victims. We are left to rebuild our lives while they're handed back theirs. This isn't justice."
The worst part of this media spectacle is the very strong suspicion that Salim Mehajer, despite his protestations otherwise, would have been lapping up the attention in unseemly delight and no doubt playing back the highlights, which regrettably may even include this very program. Because for a man like this, a far more effective punishment than jail might just be the turning away of the spotlight altogether and the cold embrace of total disregard. And now to the Prime Minister's most important meeting last week.
The PM ends his China trip with some panda diplomacy.
Panda diplomacy.
Some panda diplomacy.
Panda diplomacy.
Absolutely wonderful animals.
Not with the panda, of course, but with a somewhat more bearish counterpart.
For an Australian Prime Minister, few leaders' meetings matter more than this one. So it's worth the walk and the wait.
This portentous handshake ran in just about every major outlet across the country.
Great pal of China.
Gee whiz.
2 Australian photographers were accredited for the official visit, but for this key moment, they were barred entry to the Great Hall of the People by Chinese officials, leaving editors with a choice: print one of the official shots taken and no doubt vetted by the governments of Australia and China, or make a stand against censorship and press control. Most took a pragmatic approach, running a government-supplied pic, including the ABC and Nine's Melbourne masthead, The Age.
Photo.
Prime Minister's office.
Nine's Australian Financial Review did not run the photo, And nor did Nine's Sydney Morning Herald, its editor making a point of it in this note.
The Herald sent a photographer to China, but neither he nor other Australian media were allowed to capture the handshake between Anthony Albanese and Xi Jinping.
And when a group of journos split off to gather the all-important B-roll on the streets of Beijing, they too were shown some local hospitality.
You can see behind me the local authorities. They are surrounding the Australian press after we filmed our initial piece to cameras. They're saying that we can't leave the area, and they're also asking if they can take our camera equipment.
A gentle reminder during a friendly prime ministerial visit, no less, of life in a totalitarian state, which some in Australia might have forgotten in the long absence of most of our professional China watchers. Because it's now been 5 years since the ABC's China correspondent Bill Birtles and his equivalent at the Australian Financial Review, Michael Smith, had their postings cut short amid late-night raids by taciturn agents of the state.
Midnight on Wednesday, the knock at the door came and there were 6 state security police plus a translator.
With diplomatic relations at an historic low, Michael Smith feared he would be disappeared by the CCP. The two men were the last correspondents for Australian media left in China after the outbreak of COVID-19. But both the AFR's owner Nine and the ABC have always wanted to go back. An ABC spokesperson told us,
"We have maintained an office in Beijing and are working to return a correspondent there. Our other correspondents in the region are currently based in Bangkok, Tokyo, Taipei and Jakarta."
This workaround has become the common solution for Australian newsrooms. Jessica Sayer, AFR's North Asian correspondent based in Tokyo, while Lisa Vicentin, reporting for The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald, now files from Singapore after her predecessor, Eric Bagshaw, frustrated by only fleeting access to the country, resorted to writing about China from everywhere but China, including Mongolia, Taiwan and even Ghana. SBS, meanwhile, told us it has, for the time being at least, given up on reinstating a correspondent in the country. So, are there any Australian outlets covering China from China? Just a one.
Hello from Beijing, it's Will Glasgow coming to you from China's capital, where I flew in from Taipei last week and, as of this week, became the first Australian media to get credentials from the Chinese Foreign Ministry.
Since August last year, the Australian's Will Glasgow has been the only correspondent with a standing visa. The newspaper's competitors, meanwhile, have been holding a series of top-level meetings with Chinese officials, at which the case is put over and again to be allowed back. These are meetings which have, at times, included pointed questions from the Chinese, who come armed with an encyclopedic knowledge of each media organisation's past reporting of their affairs. So sensitive, these negotiations, Nine declined to comment, while the ABC's spokesperson said,
"Any meetings with Chinese government representatives have been respectful and allowed for a courteous exchange of perspectives. The ABC appreciates China's consideration of the ABC's request to return a reporter to China."
But in the background, the Australian government has been urging caution, and both Nine and the ABC are unsure just how freely their reporters could write the real story of China before risking the ire of so paranoid and heavy-handed a state security apparatus. Case in point, Chung Lei, who says that rather than selling state secrets, she was in fact jailed merely for publishing a government briefing a few minutes ahead of a formal embargo, and reminded us last week
how vengeful China is towards an individual. It does not care for individuals. They are just cogs in the wheel and dispensable.
Lowy Institute Senior Fellow for East Asia, Richard McGregor, told us security concerns should not prevent correspondents returning to China.
There are always risks, there is always surveillance, but you have to balance that against the benefits, which are huge, and then make a judgment, whether there is any chance of being detained. Plainly, ties have improved for the moment. It is time to go back.
Chris Buckley, the New York Times chief China correspondent, another Australian to be ejected from the country, told us,
It's especially worrisome that a country like Australia, that has so much at stake in having a public understanding of China and informed public debate about China policy, doesn't have more journalists there.
Which is right on point, because no one can really doubt China's ascendancy in the great game and its importance to Australia's future prosperity and indeed its very identity. The caution of editors is unsurprising. Who would want on their conscience the detention or worse of their correspondent? But it is vital to our understanding of the world to have Australian eyes and ears inside China, even if their reporters must walk a very fine line. And if Beijing wants the respect of nations, it must learn to cope with the appraisals of a free press. And now it's time to unlace the boots and take a load off, because Shervo and Nat are here to teach us a thing or two about how best to look after our poor, neglected feet.
We are going to get some expert advice from a podiatrist.
With Sunrise wheeling out a bona fide expert to help.
Podiatrist Dr. Hassan Al-Hamid joins us. Good morning to you.
Good to see you. Good morning. Yes, on the famous Sunrise sofa, Channel 7's pedi guru of choice laid out some home truths for those still hobbling to the office in a pair of Manolo Blahniks.
First of all, you say you never wear pointy shoes or wear high heels all the time. Why?
Yeah, so if you think about it, a lot of people, especially in the corporate world, have to wear pointy shoes and stuff their wide feet into these tight, narrow areas.
Seven's superlative footman was ever the medical professional.
So when a patient comes in and sees me, I generally do a biomechanical assessment.
But last week, the legion of viewers dying to watch the online replay were left sorely disappointed. Now, we do love a good mystery at Media Watch. Hassan Al-Hamid might have been discovered by a Sunrise segment producer, courtesy of his online presence, which is most compelling, with the footfluencer describing himself like this.
This is Dr. Huss, a paediatrist.
It's actually pronounced podiatrist. You know what? Let's just stick to foot doctor.
Oh, and he was most excited about his television debut.
So I just want to say, anyone that's got my number, just please delete it. I have no time for you anymore.
In one uplifting podcast, Al-Hamid happened also to applaud Australia's rigorous regulation of health practitioners.
We have someone called APRA. If we make mistakes, if people complain, we have someone to answer to.
Which Al-Hamid knows a thing or two about, because the Australian Health Practitioners Official Register happens to make clear that Hassan Al-Hamid, who practices under this name, is suspended, which means he's barred from practising podiatry anywhere in Australia, even on the telly. Since February 2024, he hasn't been allowed to see patients, call himself a doctor, or even dispense advice, which Sunrise failed to mention because Sunrise didn't know. A spokesperson for the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency told us,
conditions were placed on Al-Hamid's registration in 2023 and a suspension was imposed in February 2024. It is a criminal offence for an unregistered individual to describe themselves as a health practitioner or hold themselves out to be a registered health practitioner.
And in a spot of rather awkward news for everyone, it's not only the good doctor who might have broken the law.
It is also potentially a criminal offence for entities, including media organisations, to refer to unregistered individuals in such a manner.
Which might render such a segment just a little pricey. We asked Seven about its dose of foot medicine. A spokesperson told us,
we are reviewing our processes around the verification of professional qualifications to ensure we continue to have robust and appropriate measures in place. On this occasion, we did receive and review qualification documentation from this guest before his on-air appearance.
Hassan Al-Hamid told us he is challenging his suspension, which he declined to explain, but admitted he should have disclosed it to Sunrise.
I acknowledge that it was probably not appropriate, and I look forward to rectifying these issues, and I apologise if I've hurt anyone.
Whatever opprobrium is to be dished out in this unhappy tale, Sunrise's excellent clinician deserves the largest slice. Because clearly, agog at the potential publicity, he failed to explain to the poor segment producer who booked him that he was presently no doctor at all. But there are surely some experienced journalists in the team who really should have known better. And no doubt each of them have now bookmarked the APRA register, which is not, by any measure, such a bad outcome. And that's all from us tonight. Be sure to check us out on ABC iView, as well as X, YouTube and Facebook. You can find full statements on our website, and don't forget to send us your tips. I'll see you next week.